Hey everybody, Moshe Rothschild here, the Global Israel Alliance, coming to you on Friday, the week ending November 15th, 2019. Here is a summary of the news from Israel for this last week. I'll start with the two biggest stories of this week. Number one, that just happened last night, our Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has been indicted and will have to face trial. Now, what does this mean for Israel? Number one, first of all, Netanyahu's reaction was that he has no plans to step down. In Israel, a Prime Minister that is indicted does not need to step down, and Netanyahu says he will continue to serve. Now, of course, there are calls from all different sides for him to resign. There'll probably be a petition to the Supreme Court to force him to resign, but the story is still developing. Now, what will that mean for the elections? Now, this week, Benny Gantz, the leader of the Blue and White Party, returned the mandate to the president, which means that what's supposed to officially happen now is that over the next 21 days, any member of the Knesset can try to form a government. But now that Netanyahu has been indicted, if he does end up resigning or if he is forced out, then the Blue and White Party, which until now has said they will not sit in a government with Likud while Netanyahu is at the head, maybe that could change things as far as a unity government. So we'll have to keep an eye on that story. It's developing. Now, should Netanyahu resign? Should he not resign? Of course, that's going to be debated. Some will say, look, he's innocent until proven guilty, and while he's defending himself, he can serve as prime minister because he has not been found guilty, and of course, we have to presume innocence. Others will say no, that perhaps since he has been indicted and he's under investigation as a criminal, then he should resign. It looks bad for the country, and if he is found guilty, it means we would have had a sitting prime minister who was a criminal. So there's a lot of different opinions. I'm sure you'll read a lot of stories about that. I have to formulate better my opinion, but maybe I'll share that with you next week. This week, the second huge story in the news was the fact that the United States declared the settlements to be legal under international law. Now, this is incredible. It reverses a long-standing U.S. policy of some 40 years or so that says the settlements, meaning the territory, what the world calls the West Bank, or the Bible calls it Judea and Samaria, the more accurate name. Until now, the international community, the UN, has referred to it as illegal under international law, including the United States. But now, under President Donald Trump and Mike Pompeo, the U.S. Secretary of State, they now declare them to be legal. That has enormous consequence. Well, the same week, the European Union has said that all products from the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, must be labeled as such and not from Israel. Of course, Netanyahu blasted them and said this is the same European Union that won't take any action against Iran after they have violated the nuclear agreement that the European Union signed. That same community of European nations won't do anything against Iran, won't condemn them, won't take any type of action. At the same time, says that the wine coming from the Golan Heights winery must be labeled as from illegal territory. So go figure. A few other important stories from this week. As I mentioned, Benny Gantz, the leader of the Blue and White, handed back the mandate to President Rivlin, and so we have to see what happens with our government. Israel shot down 4 missiles from Syria this week, shot by Iranian proxies, and Israel responded with an attack on Iranian bases located in Syria. And there have been at least 4 attacks with about 11 Iranians killed. And our new defense minister, Naftali Bennett, made a very, very strong statement against Iran. I'm just trying to find it here. If I don't find it quickly, we'll just move on. Oh, here. He said, "Our message to the leaders of Iran is simple. You are no longer immune. Any place you dispatch your tentacles, we will chop them off." So go Naftali, and we hope that Iran is now going to reconsider whether or not they want to continue having bases in Syria. In 2018, Messi, who's probably the world's best soccer player, his team canceled a match in Israel, and but this week, the international soccer superstar Lionel Messi arrived in Israel, defying the BDS movement, and the Argentinian national team played a match against Uruguay this week. I have no idea who won because soccer, honestly, doesn't interest me that much. But the story is an important one. Let's see, what else can we tell you that happened important in Israel this week? Some feel-good stories. Three medical achievements were announced this week in Israel. Teva, the world's largest maker of generic drugs, announced that they are launching an anti-cancer treatment called Truxima, which it's initially targeted to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma patients, but also could end up treating rheumatoid arthritis and other conditions. Number 2 in our medical achievements this week, a volunteer paramedic delivered 3 babies in 48 hours. His name was Issachar Weiss. He's a volunteer paramedic at Magen David Adom. He delivered a baby at 4:30 a.m. in Tel Aviv, at 5 a.m. in Bnei Brak, and at 5 p.m. in Hatikva, Tel Aviv. This may be a new world record to deliver 3 babies in a 24-hour period. The third medical achievement this week I want to report to you is an Israeli startup named Diagnostic Robotics developed an artificial intelligence emergency room triage robot that assesses the urgency of each patient to determine their priority in seeing a human doctor. The robot also provides the doctor with a preliminary diagnosis and recommendations. That's the news from Israel this week. We hope you have an amazing Shabbat. This should be the greatest Shabbat of your life, at least until next week. This is Moshe Rothschild from the Global Israel Alliance. Oh, and reminding you, Sunday, December 8th, we'll be having in Tulsa, Oklahoma, our Israel conference. If you're anywhere near Tulsa with an hour or two, or you want to fly in, totally come. It's a very, very important conference. Go to our website, israelalliance.org, israelalliance.org. Wonderful Shabbat, and we'll see you next week.